Okay, mate.
There it is.
I'm unmuted. I'm not muted, Dave.
It's all right. I'll do it from this side, mate. Don't worry.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. That's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of ourselves on the Big Metal Detecting podcast. Hope you're all well. Another big week this week with our guest coming shortly, Mr. Stephen Gray of the YouTube channel and Facebook group Anglo Celtic Metal Detecting. Greatly looking forward to speaking. We've been chatting for a number of years now, which I'm sure we'll tell you about in a wee while. And we're both from the same neck of the woods, which is always good. We won't complain about that. So yes, here we are again. As you can see, for the people who are not listening and are actually watching us on the video cast, hello, how are you all? Lovely new background. Me and Luke have been playing this week. Ignore me for a moment because I'm just trying to share to the video cast to different groups, and then we'll be on our way well and truly. So another week, and hope you've all had a good week. Please feel free to tell us all about what you've been up to, and any questions that you have this evening for Steve will be more than welcome, I'm sure. Straight off, as ever, I'm going to go through the news stories. Luke's in the background playing away. I won't be able to see what happens. Do you like our new background? Sorry, this way. Do you like our new background? We've been playing with a green screen, and you can see I'm wearing a hat. I never wear a hat. But the lights were popping onto my head and causing pixelation, so I've been told I have to wear a hat. So hopefully I'll be changing hats every week to give anybody who sends me a hat a bit of advertising, video advertising. So for those of you who haven't listened or watched before, the Big Metal Detecting radio show goes out live every Thursday at 8 p.m. We have multiple guests. We talk about anything in the archaeological or metal detecting community. We talk to our guests about themselves, about what they've done, about finds, about even as far as to go and discuss metal detectors, reviews, and pretty much everything, really. So welcome to the show. We've been going on for a while now. We work alongside All Metal Mode UK. And hopefully in the near future, maybe even this week, the show will also be going out a couple of days later on Global Detecting Adventures Network. So things are progressing nicely. First up anyway, because I want to speak to Stephen. So first and foremost, medieval and Tudor silver artifacts dug up by detectorists in two Bedfordshire villages belong to high-status people, experts believe. A seal matrix was found in Wilden near Bedford in 2017, while a hawking ring was dug up in Bletsoe a year later. Peter Revell, officer for the Portland Antiquity Scheme, said the seal was made for a merchant or landowner. Ian Richardson, Treasure Registrar of the British Museum, said they add more to our knowledge of the past. He said the ring or verval dated from 1550 to 1560 have been tied to a falcon's leg to identify its owners. Beautiful little image, as I'm sure for those who are watching can see. Silver, obviously, ring, and it's got a picture of the falcon at the centre and wording alongside the edge, which looks like one of them looks like John. So it's obviously relating, as it says, to the person, but it's a lovely little silver ring nonetheless. Second up this week from the Daily Express. Archaeology bombshell. Gold looted from Aztecs by Spanish conqueror discovered. Gold looted from the Aztecs some 500 years ago, was found to have been stolen by famous Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez, archaeologists have revealed. The 1.9 kilogram slab of gold was discovered in a park in Mexico City in 1981 by construction workers, and it's remained a mystery as to why it's there. So again, please feel free to pop along to any of your normal media outlets and find that. The Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine page on Facebook, where we have 16,000 followers, and we'd love you to come along. We put daily, 15 articles from the archaeological, historical, and metal detecting world on there, as well as links to YouTube. We share historical videos. We have a Tim Levine putting on what happened in this day in history. Lee Hull puts on his collection of historical photographs every day, so there's a lot going on there. So obviously, you'll learn more about these in the coming days, but we have had a block put on us by Facebook for God knows what this time. But we'll be back on Saturday, and all this information will appear on there then. Carrying on. Archaeologists have made an important 1,000-year-old Edward the Confessor find in Lincoln. They found a coin depicting the face of Edward the Confessor, one of the last Anglo-Saxon kings of England, while excavating the area around Lincoln Cathedral. So, as you'd expect, beautiful coin from the era. And again, go on online, have a look, and you'll be able to find all this information. I think all these articles as well are actually been shared in the past week on the Big Metal Detecting Podcast Facebook group. So you'll be able to find them on there. And finally, in the news this week, an ancient Inca artifact discovered in Florida points to a 4 billion sunken treasure hoard. This is regarding the 1715 spot, which I think off the coast of America in some general area. Now, if I'm not mistaken, one of our previous guests on All Metal Mode UK, Daryl Miklos from Cooper's Treasure, Gordon Cooper was the astronaut in question. He discussed the 1715 Spanish fleet throughout the show that we did with him, which you can find if you look back on All Metal Mode UK, and all the different things that himself and his father had done in the past towards hunting for this lost fleet and the treasure upon it. So here we are. We're back again, and I'd like to introduce you to our guest this evening, a chap I've been dying to speak to for some time now, Mr. Stephen Gray. How are you, Stephen?
Hello, Dave. Nice to be part of the show tonight, mate.
It's good to have you, Stephen. It's we've been chatting for what seems like 15 years now, haven't we?
At least 8.
Yeah, it is.
I got a good few years.
The interesting thing is between myself and Stephen, we're both from the Wirral. Stephen's from Birkenhead, I'm from Ellesmere Port.
Yeah.
And I moved to Congleton. Stephen, now where are you now?
I've been for the last 3 years. I live in Evesham, Worcestershire.
So it's one of them situations, and we're getting even further apart.
I got married to a local lass down in Evesham. Shout out to Rachel.
Hello, Rachel. If you're listening or watching,
she'll catch up with it.
Good. Well, this is available for anybody who does want to come back to it, listen again, etc. You can go to our podcast station. Just look for the Big Metal Detecting radio show. I have to keep saying that, Stephen, because we've rebranded and I forget. And you can download or listen anytime. One comment tonight. It's from So, Stephen, how many years now have you been metal detecting?
About 30 years, but initially I just used to pick it up and put it down a bit. I didn't do it seriously week in and week out. You know, as a young lad, I had a lot going on, and occasionally I'd just come back to metal detecting now and again. But if you want to say like proper full-on metal detecting, only about the last 8 years have I been getting out every week. But I bought my first metal detector 30 years ago, and I I used to come back to it quite regular over the years.
And you've been all over.
Well, yeah. Since I've been networking online for the last 8 years or so, it's like anything. You just learn your way around the actual hobby more so. With the advent of Facebook, it's like, well, yeah, you just learn so much online, and you learn where the best parts in the country are to go metal detecting. So with a bit of luck, you get out there and you make friends, and if they live in Lincolnshire or Norfolk or wherever, even better.
And to be honest, Worcestershire isn't that really far, is it, from where I am? I mean, a metal detective, Dudley Detectoring Group around Wolverhampton. So as the crow flies, it's not particularly far at all.
Well, I used to come down this neck of the woods from the Wirral on a Sunday, just for rallies and that.
Yeah.
About 2.5 hours.
And there's some decent rallies. I think Tom Pizarek runs quite a few rallies around the Worcestershire area.
I think Tom does. I've definitely seen him on Facebook. I don't think I've caught up with Tom yet, but I know he's got a very good reputation with his group. I know some of my friends have been out with him and found nice stuff. So while we're on the subject of like rally groups in the Midlands, I might as well give a shout out to some of the groups that I do get out with regular. I get out with the Clodhoppers a lot, with Sid Perry and Hugh Tranter and Dominic James Alcock. All the Tranters with the Clodhoppers. Lawrence, Let's Go Detecting Midlands. There's Phil Frag Hill. What's his group called? Heart of England, of course. Get out with them guys a lot. And Let's Go Digging. I get out with Paul Howard.
It's a good idea. If you see me looking at my phone, Steve, I'm not being ignorant. I'm told to not concentrate on the newscast and look at you on there.
Cool.
But I have, because the questions coming through, you've seen some pop up now and again. They're coming through both by the Facebook feeds and via the YouTube feed. And I've got to concentrate on the Spreaker one because I'm getting all confused where I am. So if you see me doing things, I'm looking at my phone for texts off Luke. He's trying to message me the conversation.
I think I might have just picked up. As somebody just said in the comments, Jordan Henderson scored for Liverpool.
Yes, he has. It's 1-0 to Liverpool.
Okay, so I've just found the comments on my screen. So I'm
glad they've done that, to be honest, because when my phone went by me, I thought it was Luke messaging. So that was a bit of good news anyway. I'm happy with that.
Well, hats off to you two, because there's a lot of technology going on here. I don't think I could master all this myself.
I can't myself, Steve. I can't myself, honestly.
Fair play to Luke.
So, the concept of the Anglo Celtic metal detecting YouTube channel, how did that come about?
It come about, what I've just referenced, where I said I used to pick up the hobby and then put it down while I was busy working and stuff. When I came back to it seriously about 8 years ago, I didn't know how to get out myself hardly. I'd been on a few rallies back then, but I had no friends in the hobby, and it seemed like there was more obstacles to getting out in the fields than there was, answers, solutions. So I just started networking online, initially on Facebook, and I was always after. I was two things I was passionate about from day one when I started networking online: getting myself out in the fields as much as possible, and getting anybody else that I could help to get them out in the fields as much as possible as well. Yeah. So Anglo Celtic, for me, it's all about getting myself and anybody else, even if I can just tell them where their nearest club is. If they just ask me, they can be at the other end of the country, but because I've got all the connections and I've been doing it for years now, I might know who their local club is. So for me, Anglo Celtic just means getting out digging and having a laugh, and that's what it's about, Dave.
How did you come up with the name Anglo Celtic? What reason was that?
Good question. Well, my own personal ancestry is Irish and English. I'm about half Irish, half English. So Anglo referencing the English part of me, Celtic referencing the Irish part. So it just popped into my head one day.
And it works because you've got a hell of a lot of views, a hell of a lot of subscribers.
I don't know. I'm not massive, am I? I'm not massive, but I don't really try. I'm not one of these tech geeks, or I haven't got time because we've got a full-time job, so I can't smash it. But I do enough to get noticed, and I have great connections in the community.
You certainly do. You certainly do. Do you know? I went for a walk when we were at Detectival last year. I think I was going down to get some more magazine because we dropped a load of magazines off at the main entrance. And I'm walking down. I thought, I'm sure I know him. I'm sure that's Steve Gray.
I'm exactly the same, Dave. I'm exactly the
it's
same.
not him. It can't be him. No, it is him. No, it's not him. Yeah, it was you. And I didn't say hello.
Oh, Dave, but you know, I'm terrible for that. It's not because I'm ignorant. I was probably thinking the same. I was probably thinking, is that Dave Sadler? Is it? Because you speak to people on Facebook and all you see is a name and a profile picture, and then it's 1,000,000% different when you're actually walking past them in the field, as you know.
Yes.
And it's crazy.
From one of your videos as well, early on, one of your early videos, you put one on of his site, and I was like, I recognise that site. And from what I used to do previously, normal studies and whatnot, it's a place that I used to go to all the time. And I always said, for all the time I passed through this particular field, because it was a walk to this church, wasn't it? Massive walk.
Lovely church.
And I always said, I would love to walk this church. Now, we're not going to obviously determine the location.
Well, was it the one? Was it the church with the carriage next door to it?
That's the one with the funeral hearse in the garage there.
Spot on.
And you know, I absolutely love going there in the summer. It's so serene and pleasant. You can see why they've made the church there. And it's in the fields. And you can only get there by walking or a very, very bad track for vehicles still using it for burials and such like. But I always said, I want to detect that fields. And lo, you were on it. So what did you find on there? Because that interests me because of my interest in the history of the location.
Yeah, I found on there, we found some King John hammered, some nice condition King Johns. I found I'm sorry, not a gold ring. I found a nice ring, a silver ring, you know, when it comes up half silver and half black looking. It had a lovely cartouche on it with the initials TH. And that must have had a few hundred years of age. I'd like to know if that come from a local landowner, but I never found out. So we got hammers off there. Well, the link to that actual church up in Cheshire, it all came about when I met my old farmer for the very first time, Derek. He was 84 years old, and he actually had just a few fields right by the newer church that's on the main road there.
Yeah.
And he gave us the green light initially. He was the first farm in that area that we got. I had a lovely enamelled Roman brooch off his church field, bearing in mind this is the modern field, modern church, compared to the old church that's back in the fields a bit from there. So I had a lovely enamelled disc brooch. We got some nice hammers off there. Then we got those fields at the old church. Same again, we had hammers. We had not so much Roman coins, but we had a few Roman brooches and stuff. And then I ended up with like 8 farms in that area, and we got.
I remember you telling me. Yeah,
we got all the usual suspects off it in the end. All really nice finds.
Yeah. So, during your time metal detecting, I know currently you're wearing the t-shirt, and we'll discuss that in a little while. Other way. There it is. What metal detectors have you actually used in all your years of detecting, if you can remember them all?
Yeah, I can remember most of them. So my mum bought me my first metal detector when I must have been about 18. It was a white Coin Master. The next one after that was the one that I loved. In the early days, it was the one that, when you actually really click with a metal detector. So the second one I had that I really clicked with was a Fisher 1265X. Still no screens back in them days, but it had, what did it have on it? A little trigger that you could set your discrimination, like double discrimination. So you could set one lot of discrimination fairly high or medium, and you could set one, like knock it right out as well. So you could have one high and one low, and you could pull a trigger, I think it was. So you could just flick between a medium to high disc and a low disc just at the pull of a trigger. And that was a good little gizmo that one had. So the white Coin Master, the 1265X, I'm not sure which one come next, but I had, at some point, I had the C-Scope R1, I think it's called, R1 or R100. I got the Minelab Explorer SC. I had that for about 6 years, never found anything with it. Not because it wasn't a good machine, but I just couldn't master that one. I had, after that one, I think I had the Garrett AT Pro, which was great. I loved that machine, the Garrett AT Pro. I found my first gold hammered coin with that out in Lincolnshire, Charles' first gold crown. So after the Garrett AT Pro, or around about that same time, I had an old T2. It was a Mark 1 original T2, and it was about 10 years old. And in some fields, you couldn't hear nothing much apart from EMI, like with, is it called EMI? Electromagnetic interference. I always get mixed up. Is it EMI? Yeah, it is. So my old T2, sometimes in the wrong fields or by electric fences, it'd wail like a banshee, but I found some cracking stuff with that T2. Well, one of the best machines I've ever used. And then after the T2, what got me interested initially in macro was I heard that their machines were trying to build similar machines to the T2. So I went out and I bought a Macro 1 initially.
The Racer was that?
Yeah, Macro Racer 1, yeah. So that was the first macro machine I bought, the Racer 1. And there was a slight little issue with the coil one day. So I got talking to a lady on Facebook who I actually thought worked for Macro. Turns out she didn't, but she used to sell a lot of their stuff. Karen Koistra of the International Metal Detector Centre.
From Holland, yeah.
So I was talking to her about an issue with my coil, and she just sent me one. And I thought, wow, that was really good. And then I heard that the Macro Racer 2 was coming out. And I still, at this point, thought that Karen worked for Macro. And I said to her, look, I've got a YouTube channel. Is there any chance you could send me a Macro Racer 2 on release? And I will demonstrate it and, promote it. And fair play to Karen Koistra. She sent me the Racer 2, and from the Racer 2, I've had all their machines up until recently, and then just recently, I felt like a new challenge because so many people on board with Nocta. I like a challenge where I wanted to concentrate more on the side of testing and that, and I got an opportunity with Rutus to get on board, and I've been using the Rutus Alta 71 for it. For about 6 months, and I'm absolutely loving it.
And you've had some decent finds as well with it.
Well, I don't get out as much as I'd like to, because in the past I used to get out maybe 3 times a week. But now I'm married and I've got bills to pay and I've got a full-time job. I get out once a week, and I've had a hammy with it. Only one up to now, but I've had a few Romans. Just flicking through a lot of the preset programs on it. I love it. If you've got a Roman spot and it's full of like Roman iron background, just flick that into fast. If it's not so noisy, try it on deep or just one of the preset like coin or something. I'm really enjoying the Rutus shot, loving it.
And do you feel it's as quick as it's suggested? Because I mean, Luke says how quick it is. He says all the time.
It's as quick as you know them sharpshooters in the old Western films with a pew. It's that quick.
Really?
It's
God.
really quick.
I mean, I use one myself, Steve, but I'm a technophobe when it comes to metal detectors. I can run a podcast, but I can't use a metal detector.
Well, we said on the phone the other day, didn't we? If there was a scale of like geeks for metal detecting, you were being honest. You're not very good on working out what all the buttons do, so you'd be a bit on the lower scale. I'd be about in the middle. It's my passion that carries me, and past experience. And at the top there, who knows how to tweak all the buttons and that. My digging buddy Sid Perry, you give him any metal detector, and he's like beep 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 beep, done. He just knows how to do it. I'm somewhere in the middle with my passion for the hobby.
I've heard a lot of things said about Sid in that respect. Being giving him any machine and he's able to do it.
Yeah, but it's great because we go out on the rallies and there's like 20 people asking him technical questions about 4 different machines while I'm finding stuff. he's got to set all these machines up, and I'm just digging.
That's cool. Life. You go and do that. I'll do this. Yeah. And while you were at Detectival last year, you actually met Viola and Eric from Rutus as well.
I certainly did. For like the first time, I just walked over to their little setup, and some guy was like swinging the Rutus Alta 71. I didn't recognise him. Yet again, like we said, we weren't sure in the flesh whether you were Dave and whether I was Steve. And I didn't recognise Luke Higgins, who works with you and who's setting this show up with you tonight. And he was swinging the Rutus Alta 71 with Eric and Viola, and he was demonstrating it to 2 of my friends. And I just thought, looks good. Maybe if I linger here long enough, I might be able to blag one. Basically, coming from Birkenhead and being honest. And I didn't have to blag one at all. As soon as Luke seen who I was and that, and he showed me it and that, and then Viola's like, please just take it away and tell us what you think of it, and I love it. Yeah.
Good. It's all good. Obviously, I know, as we spoke on the phone the other night, I know the entirety of the Rutus team because when we were at Rodney Cook and when we were at Detectival last year, they were all with Luke. So, and obviously I was with Luke, so I got to know all of them, and you couldn't ask for nicer people to represent the company. And obviously yourself currently, you represented it to a degree by doing videos, and add you to that list, certainly.
Cool.
I've got a number of other questions, Steve. Excuse me. As I said, Luke's texting me through what I can't see because this is our agreement. Instead of me going looking for them, he'll send them. The first one, what's the difference between the old and the new technology to yourself?
To me, not a lot, actually, because back in the day, I was such a novice. That technology that they're referencing as old technology, it was all new to me, and it was all it was all a bit tricky, and there was nobody there for me to explain any of it. I didn't have any buddies, didn't have nobody. It was just me and a parcel that come through the post, and I had to work it all out for myself with no help from anybody. So, okay, in that sense, I used to struggle and have to learn and how to master these machines back in the day that now I could probably pick up and they'd be very simple. But overall, technology, it has moved on massively. Yeah, of course it has. We've got the screens. You've got all different brands are doing how they set the frequencies up in certain ways. Like with XP, I think a lot of it depends on what coil you're using. A lot of them are like you can update over the internet. You can update your machines now. Mine Lab, they've got multi-frequency. So yeah, the hobby has moved on massively. You're going to be picking up, if you really master one of these newer machines that's come out in the last 18 months or so, some of the, like, if you say £600 to £800 range, £1,200 range. From about the £600 range to about the £1,200 range, if you apply yourself for 6 months and you really master these machines, you're going to be digging hammered coins fairly deep, and you're going to be digging the small ones. I always like to dig a really small hammered coin. That's when I know, or a small Roman. That's when I know I've mastered my machine and it's doing a good job for me.
Now, Luke's got a video to play on the video cast.
Okay.
The recovery speed of the altars. He actually showed me this. Well, when we were playing the other night, he had it on playing to show me what was what. And when it's loaded up in a minute, that's going to be on. I think it's a 15-second video, which obviously will only be for viewers. So as soon as that's running, Steve, we'll cut off for a second, and I think you'll be able to see everything that's going on, don't you?
Okay, well, we'll see, mate. This is baffling me, but it's really, it's impressing me how you're doing all this, you two guys, tonight. It's cool.
It's bloody hard work, I'll give you that. Kudos for Luke. And he even rang me today, obviously, on my way home from work to say, right, had a chat about everything and to go, right, we've got Steve in place. Can you send this over? Can you send that over? And he's baffling me with more applications to be added to what people are seeing now. I didn't have a clue what he was on about.
Top tech boffin.
Sorry?
Top tech boffin, Luke.
Oh, he is. Well, as you know, the prime example is the Rootis knowing how to use that. It took me a while. For people who've listened for a long time, Tony Kaywood, Scotty B, the Bays, Steve Pettican, they'll all tell you how the show's actually progressed from when we launched, because, when we launched was at the Rodney Cook Memorial. I'd done a 15-minute interview and forgot to put the microphone on.
That's what happens, mate.
So all these little things we've learned bucket loads, absolutely. I mean, another thing tonight, you'll see I've got black T-shirt on, because when we done the thing the other night, I had a Liverpool top on and red and green.
Why wouldn't you have a Liverpool top on? Of course, everybody wears a Liverpool top when they're not on this show, I think, no? I do.
So I've got to have a black T-shirt on so it don't blend, and I've got to have a hat on so the bloody lights above me don't pixelate me on the head.
Yeah.
So, Luke, whenever you're ready, please play the video, if you will, for the route.
I mean, it's insanely fast. I actually couldn't.
Look how fast this router's recovery time is, guys. It's amazing. This is the Rootis Altar 71, is that correct?
That's it, yeah.
That's amazing. You cannot beat that. Now there's
I don't think there's anything.
Look, you got a little hammered in there. Silver. You got a nail. You can hear that nail just sitting in there in that low tone. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing, dude.
It's just showing the speed. I was just explaining to the people who were listening exactly what the video was showing there, Steve. So
the recovery speed.
You tried that yourself, haven't you?
I've put a video up. I basically just copied it. I copied, and it's.
I mean, it's insanely fast. I actually couldn't.
Look how fast this router's recovery time.
The ground, and when we've got targets, that we haven't dug, and you're in the Roman iron and stuff, and it's being masked, and that fast recovery will pick it out. It'll pick the good small targets out. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's also sorry, Dave. It's also
carry on.
It's also known for being a very deep machine. That router, Salter 71. I'll totally admit, the first time I seen a router Salter 71 was about 18 months ago. I think Wyola must have sent one to Sid Perry, my mate, and he was in the park making one of his videos, and I was with him, and I just thought, I don't know. It looks a bit complicated, and it's probably something to do with the colour as well. Looks a bit like a hospital crutch. I don't care. I've used it. I absolutely love it. It's another top machine, and I can't wait to hopefully do a bit of testing on the next one.
I've been through a range of machines like yourself, got analog machines. early C-scope when my dad handed down to me. What did I have next? I had the X-Terra 705. And do you know, Steve, as you said about the Technics, I think you said before, the T2, was your go-to machine.
Yeah.
Really, really, honestly, the X-Terra is the only one that's clicked with me. And
that's what you need. Well, you should actually go out and use that then. If you've clicked with it,
I got rid of it, but I'm going to have to pick one up in the future. Since then, I've played with Macro Racer. I've played with one of the Nocta machines. Can't remember what that one was now. I even went as far as the E-Track, but that was just by far too baffling for me.
Oh yeah.
And now obviously I've got the Rutus.
My brain.
And as I told you the other night, and I'm sorry for the Rutus loving at the moment. As I told you the other night, there's an app for Team Rutus UK, and it's got all the different Team Rutus members. Settings for what they use. Basically, I stuck with one, Tony Kaywood's, and it's been they've all been successful in part. I think Adrian Gaylor's was the next best successful, but Tony Kaywood's it was absolutely perfect for the ground conditions, the areas, the soil content, everything was absolutely perfect for me.
Yeah, cool. That's what you want, isn't it? Anything that you can actually just gel with.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd like to use a simplex because apparently, being as simple as it is, the name simplex would be for me perfect.
Well, I tried one the other week, a simplex, and it's not bad. But obviously, all the tech that's in it for the price, it's very good for the price what you get.
Yeah. Going back to fine, Steve.
Yeah.
Somebody said about fines and what have you. One of my favourite finds of yours, a number of years ago, you actually wrote an article for the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, and that was unfortunately before the site crashed.
Oh yeah.
And everything was lost. That was, I think,
Hello.
Several times thereafter for different reasons, and it was concerning a medal for cricket or something from somewhere in Australia.
Oh no, that's my cricket belt buckle.
Belt buckle.
All these pictures that are coming up now that we can see me Charles I gold coin there. These are all my finds. And I did send you a picture of the cricket belt buckle. Yeah, it's one of my favourite finds. It's like a snapshot of a Victorian cricket game. There's 5 cricketers in the field and there's a church in the background. And when I originally found that, I blew my mind. And a lot of people on the English Facebook groups liked it, but I wasn't getting a lot of feedback from England. So I posted it in an Australian group, knowing that the Australians like cricket. And a guy from Australia, he had found another cricket buckle, and we started talking. And we were speaking on Facebook for about a year, me and John Hilton Smith. And basically, out of those 2 cricket belt buckles that have been found on the other side of the world from each other, was born a friendship with me and John. And he's been coming over every September and bringing friends with him when he can. So he comes over to visit and that.
And that's the story of how I want to get to it, how a metal detecting find can forge a friendship. Something as simple as that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, not only can it make friendships, but metal detecting itself, it's like when I was going out digging in Birkenhead, there was you couldn't find hammered coins, and this is how Facebook helps as well. I'd heard that 2 guys, a father and son, fairly local to me, they lived up Tranmere way. They were doing well on the Wirral Peninsula, and they were finding hammered coins, but I didn't know them. So I just kept asking around Facebook, who's Steve Niche and who's Wayne Niche, father and son. And Facebook plugged me in eventually. I asked enough people, got speaking to them on Facebook. They knew me. I mean, sorry, they were local to me. They took me out one day, and they had this farm that was producing hammers on the Wirral, which is very unusual for around by me. And they took me out for about a year, and they gave me the opportunity to maybe on a good day find a hammered. And I didn't really have any permission at that point. And then about a year into that little friendship, they actually lost their one good farm that produced hammers because the gamekeeper started metal detecting or something, and he wanted it. But just at that time, when they lost that one good farm that we could go to, I got a connection up the road in Cheshire, and that's when we started going up to Derrick's and that. So for the next 2 years after that, I was taking them out a bit further up the road.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the power of Facebook and social media.
It
and
is.
stuff,
It certainly
isn't it?
is. Luke, please could you bring up the shot of the cricketing belt buckle, if you will, if you've got it loaded up? That'll be fantastic. And then, because there's a few people who are wanting to see it, and given that we have got this, the ability for people to see it via the video cast, we may as well utilize it. And that's not it, Luke. That's the archaeology and metal detecting page, and as you can see, there are limits on it at the moment, as I mentioned earlier. But we can post, but nobody sees it until Saturday at about 10 a.m., and then we'll be all groovy again. So Luke's going to load up the image of the belt buckle.
He's got to find it first. I did send a lot of images.
So I'm just messaging him just in case he can't hear me, because I don't know what obviously goes on the other side of that. But moving on anyway.
Yeah.
And
cool. We'll get back to that.
Oh, here we go. Could this be it? No, he's going back to the. He's putting a spool of your images on. Okay. So that's one of the hammers, whatnot. So I think he's just going to go through and try and find it anyway. Yeah. Detectable, Steve. What did you actually think? Were you there metal detecting, or did you just come down for a visit?
I've been to about the last 3 or 4 detectables. Mark Beecher, who puts it on because I'm a YouTuber and that. Fair play to him. Mark is top guy. Like a lot of these rally people who put rallies on, he lets me on free. He lets me bring me missus. We go along. We meet people who like my videos. We bump into people like yourself and Luke. I do a bit of both. I do some networking and I do a bit of digging.
What do you think of Detectable as a whole, the experience?
I love it. Like when we went back to that question earlier about what does Anglo Celtic in itself mean, and I said, it's all about myself getting out in the fields and helping other people get out. Well, what could be better than Detectable?
Absolutely. And it's not just about, obviously, metal detecting. There's so much more that actually takes place while you're there.
Yeah, social side and that. And you're catching up with people you've only spoke to on Facebook for like possibly years and that, from America, Australia, you name it.
And it's the same for us. We obviously have the our stall there and at Rodney Cook, and this year at Detecticon as well, and several others. And it is a way to meet people because, that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
I will be at a lot of the big rallies this year because Wyola from Rootus asked me the other day if I'd actually become part of the Rootus expert team. And so obviously anything that Rootus are involved with at the big rallies this year, I'll get out there and I'll represent Rootus as an expert.
You're going to have to give Tony Kaywood your settings now so people can look for your settings then.
Shout out to Tony Kaywood and all he does for the brand. He does loads, and I know he's a good friend of yours, Dave. So it'll be nice to hopefully meet him one time this year for the first time.
Last year, again, if it wasn't for knowing Luke, I wouldn't have met Tony. He come up at the Detectable. He went, "All right, Dave." I was like, "All right, mate."
Yeah.
It's me, you, Tony Kaywood. What the hell it is? So it was nice to put a name, and he ended up sitting with us for the entirety of the weekend.
It's crazy. I've come away from Detectable, and people have said to me on Facebook, "I was seeing you at Detectable, but I didn't want to say hello because you were a bit busy." And I'm like, "Damn, why didn't you come up and say hello?" You know, it is cool, like.
It is. There's some fantastic people out there. Questions? Any particular YouTubers you like and watch regularly?
I don't, even my best mates on YouTube, honestly, like Sid's one of my best mates. He's putting a video out every other day. I very rarely get the hours in the day to watch any of them. some of the ones that I really respect for like the amazing finds and that. There's some that I respect for their amazing finds, and there's others who probably still get amazing finds that I mainly respect just for the amount of work they put into it. I know one of the more recent channels of late, not brand new, but it hasn't been going years and years. The Discriminators, I know that those two, they put a lot of work into their channel. Adam Staples, who found the massive Anglo-Saxon hoard, he's got a great channel. Tinner Man from up our way, Liverpool way? He finds amazing stuff. And
You must be
obviously,
all right. He's a railway. You should.
obviously, all the other usual suspects. Stephen Pettigan's a great lad. Loads and loads. There's just so many of them. Aaron Weedall, Luke Pettigan. Sorry, Stephen Pettigan. Who else? I mean, I go out with a lot of them regularly. So many. Jet Ski John and Jackie who were on the show recently. There's the cricket belt buckle.
There it is. Beautiful piece.
Yeah, that's
Do you
what
know,
started it.
I'm just going to give mention to something. I'm going to actually go on to the Big Metal Detecting podcast page. I was contacted this week. I don't know if people know or remember Graham Dempsey. Graham started the composite cleaning pencil range, which has had a fantastic feedback. And he's just put together, and I'll read it out. It's called Preserve It Wax. It's a protective wax product for the application and conservation of bronze coins and artifacts. The product provides super easily, etc., etc. It goes through it, but the patina, the item itself is so fun. The images he sent me are just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And it's a microcrystalline wax. It has a petroleum derivative that is different to paraffin wax, but having a very much smaller crystal structure, higher melting point, and is pH neutral. If anybody who is a member of the Big Metal Detecting Podcast and All Metal Mode UK Facebook page, if you scroll down, is obviously the promotion for tonight. There's the Digging for Veterans rally, which I'll give mention to in a little bit while. And then there's Graham Dempsey's post with the images and the information, and obviously a link to buy it. But that, where I'm going, the belt buckle would look absolutely stunning. The image of that, what you've took there with that stuff on, was absolutely spectacular.
Well, when it come out the ground, it was just a big slaver of mud and just not rust, but it was like, what the hell is it? And there's images on it. I don't know what it is. I'm cleaning it off. And once I found out just by looking at it and getting a bit of mud off just what it was, I was like, wow, so lucky not to spade that. I was like so happy I didn't put the spade right through it. It's from about 1860, that.
It's a lovely piece. And as I said, that's one of the most memorable finds that I've obviously seen on Facebook and whatnot. And obviously, as I said, you sent the story, which can't find out because you sent it via Facebook, and obviously I delete messages instead of saving them or archiving them. So that's what I lost, unfortunately.
My biggest passion other than metal detecting is actually writing. I absolutely love writing. And I write stuff on my Facebook wall all the time. I write a bit of poetry. I just trip out on history and sometimes combine the two or whatever,
Luke's been sharing a number of your posts on our page. Yeah. And, you're having a lot of feedback. There was one in particular, you talked about your past, some of the issues that had your past and how metal detecting helped save you to a degree. No, and there was so much good feedback and thanking you for actually posting that.
Well, I'm always of the idea of I don't hide my past because I had a hard life, and I used to work away as a youngster, and I worked away on the motorways. I was helping build the M40 down in Banbury. And when that job finished, when I was age 21, I went back to Birkenhead, and basically Birkenhead had been decimated by hard drugs, and unfortunately all my friends were into it, and I lost about 24 years of my life to it. and metal detecting got me clean away from that. I can only thank metal detecting and my own self-determination, really, and my family. So yeah, it means a lot to me, this hobby, of course.
And I appreciate you actually opening up, and I'm sure everyone else who's listening or watching appreciates that as well, Steve. It can't be easy for you to actually speak about your past in some respects.
Well, I'm actually, because I'm a writer. If I get on that subject, I don't actually mind writing about it because I enjoy writing, and no matter what subject it is, I always try and come at it from a writer's angle. So I want to pad it out and I want to tell a story. And I know by doing so, it does help other people. I know for a fact there's people up and down the country with metal detectors, hopefully a very, very tiny minority, who are going through similar issues to what I did in the past. And it certainly helps them.
Now, I'm in two ways where to segue here. So I'm going to go for the first one. When you're talking about people with issues, obviously, what I mentioned before about the detective for veterans, it's a different issue, obviously, but you know, a lot of
it helps everyone, doesn't it, mate?
Exactly. People who are coming, you know, from service with post-traumatic stress, with injuries and what have you, it helps a lot. And they've got a summer weekend rally from the 18th to the 20th of September in Ancaster in Lincolnshire. 300 acres of history, free camping, licensed bar, marquee, full weekend ticket, sponsored currently by Crawford's Metal Detecting and Mine Lab. So for more information, jump onto either Detective for Veterans or any of our pages and you'll see that posted on there. So that was my first segue. My second segue was writing. As well as writing an article for ourselves in the past, you've wrote a number for Treasure Hunting magazine too.
I love writing for Treasure Hunting magazine. I love to put like about 4 or 5 pages together for them. The number one writer who I respect the most in the hobby who writes about archaeology and metal detecting is Julian Evan Hart. And years ago, I was actually sitting on my bed in Birkenhead reading one of his books, Beginner's Guide to Metal Detecting. And a notification went on my phone. This is when I just joined Facebook. And I put 2 and 2 together. I've got hold of this book with his name on it. And his name's just pinged up on my Facebook. So that was years ago. I've been in touch with Julian ever since. And he's just an amazing writer. And luckily for me, you know, I don't know how I can say this without sounding conceited, but he really rates me as a writer. And so basically he encourages me and I love it. And I want to write for the Treasure Hunting magazine and I'll do some for your Archie magazine as well. If you
Much
let me.
Appreciated, thank you. Of course, anytime. And as you mentioned about Julian, I'm sure if not everybody, most people listening and watching will have the exact same sentiments because I certainly do. And the big news is that he has agreed to come on in the coming weeks. So hopefully
cool.
End of February, beginning of March, we'll have Mr. Evan Hart on as a guest. But he's agreed to come on anyway, and I'm looking forward to that. So many things I'd like to speak about. Do you prefer stubble, pasture, ploughed, or rolled land to metal detect on?
I want all of them. I want like a field split into like 4 with a bit of all of it. I just love it all. But if we're serious, any of them, as long as I can hear the iron crackling underneath. I run my machines with zero discrimination, and I'm guided by the crackle of the Roman iron. I love it. So be it, you know, if I'm struggling in stubble, and I could go on a nice rolled field. Well, if that rolled field isn't speaking to me, I'd rather go back in the stubble on that iron.
Yeah.
You know, I just love having my machine wide open, listening for that crackle. And it's like a fisherman with a reel, and he's just trying to get that half signal, that little tiny blip in amongst the iron, and reel that little find in that little Roman or whatever it be.
Nice analogy.
The only thing I can't metal detect on is a beach.
I hate it. I absolutely despise it. There's nothing worse for me than metal detecting than going on a beach. Yeah,
I,
John
sorry,
Bradbury,
Dave.
John's Detective Adventures, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, and a fine YouTuber. He should get a lot more credit. Is John's Detective Adventures, as I've just said for people on YouTube. Have a look it up. He's again very, very, very passionate, and we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and we're hoping to organise probably in March some form of meet up on Blackpool Beach to for whoever to come along and take part. Again, meet, chat, discuss,
cool.
look at each other, and metal detect the beach with somebody who actually knows how to metal detect the beach to help them. So
it's a fine art, and I've come to the conclusion I'm never going on a beach again myself unless a proper beach expert takes me and teaches me. I never pretend to be a know-it-all. You're always learning in this hobby.
I've had a message off Luke. We know he's in the chat room, Mr. Sid Perry. Will you come on the show, Mr. Sid Perry? No, I don't know where he's going to. I don't know where he's going to answer, but Luke's keeping an eye out for it.
Put it this way: Sid is the tech geek, and he's a joker like me, Sid, but he's a tech geek. But I give good interview, whereas Sid's a bit nervous when he comes on these things, but he'll come on because I've just seen a message ping up on my own Facebook Messenger that I can still see if it pings. And it was Sid about a minute ago. He said, Steve's smashing it on the podcast. Fair play. Your turn next, Sydney.
Challenge, Sydney, challenge. Joe, I actually spoke to him on Detectival. I rang him up via Facebook and he must have looked at his phone. What the hell's he want? Alex Savage couldn't find him anywhere.
Oh, yeah. He wanted to
ring him up and ask him. Again, lovely chap. And I can't for the life of me remember the lad he goes out detecting with, but he was with him. And again, another great lad that I met at Detectival. He'll know who he is.
Dean Hunter, Noodle. There's a few of them. Shout out to Dean Hunter. Massive shout out to Jordan Button. Do you know what? There's some characters in this hobby that you can't go wrong with them. They're just brilliant. They give you the last penny. They would take you on the best field. Jordan Button, top guy.
Noodle Hunter, isn't it? Dean Hunter.
Yeah. Dean. I
notice Alex Savage pops up all the time, tagging him with pot noodles.
Yeah, certainly. Shout out to all them lot.
Of all the finds that you've had, Steve, what is probably your favourite find?
My favourite find is not my gold hammers. I've had 2 gold hammers. I've had a gold sovereign. I've had a half sovereign. I've had gold rings. I've had gold charms. It's none of the golds. It's actually a bronze that I found. It was a bronze Carausius coin. Carausius was... he was a Roman emperor, and basically what he decided to do was steal Britain for himself from his... No, sorry. He was the leader of the Roman fleet that looked after Britain. And he stole Britain off his Roman bosses over in Rome. And he run England himself, or Britain. He run it for like 9 years before he was killed. And when I found my first Carausius coin, I'd never heard of him. And what I actually found was a very special Carausius coin. It was in great condition. It's what's known as one of his legionary coins that was only used to pay his legions. And you know the legionary coins because they got mythical beasts on the back. Mm-hmm. I learnt so much from that coin. So that's always up to now my favourite find, yeah.
And what's on your wish list? What haven't you had yet, but you want?
There's always something you ain't found, haven't you? I'm going to a Saxon area on Sunday down Salisbury, and I'm hoping to get a Saxon coin eventually. I've had Saxon artifacts, some lovely strap ends and that. I've not had my first Saxon coin, so that's on my wish list.
Much else?
Yeah, no. A Commonwealth. I've not had a Commonwealth. I haven't had it all. Do you know what I mean? Far from it. But I've had a lot. I'm certainly happy with what I've had. Got to be happy.
Yeah, of your images that you sent, there was one. There was a massive array of what looks like Roman finds. I noticed there was a dice in the centre.
Oh yeah, it's a lovely dice about as big as an OXO cube, and I found that on a
Yeah.
Roman hotspot out in Lincolnshire. It's definitely got to be a Roman dice because the housing estate next to us, next to that field, was actually where the Roman mint was, and
Yeah.
I reckon the soldiers were. It was like a little pub or something because we were finding like small denomination Romans, and in amongst all that, I found the dice. Yeah, there's the dice in the middle, I think.
That's a lovely dice. And the two mine's gone blank.
Brooches.
Brooches.
Yeah, nice picture that. I love that picture.
Is that something from the generalized area, or is that everything Roman? Because they all look Roman that you've acquired over time.
No, they're Romans that are dug in about 1 year out in Lincolnshire, or just some of them. That's about half the Romans are
Fantastic.
dug in one good year in Lincolnshire. I dug about twice as much as that.
Fantastic. Luke, if you can hear me, pop up any images that you like, Stephen, just to give a brief description and explanation about, if you wouldn't mind.
Dave, how
Yeah.
long have we got left to run?
As long as you want, mate.
I'm just looking at my phone. It's got 3% battery, and I don't want to be rude or nothing. Do I have to use these headphones?
Yeah, you do. Listen, we'll end the show any second now.
Yeah.
Obviously,
There's my brooch.
That's beautiful.
There.
Absolutely stunning, that.
It's thanks to Sid that I got that. I had no petrol money that day. He paid me petrol money and he let me on his rally free. So yeah, it's a lovely brooch, that.
It is. What era is that? Not being au fait with it.
13th or 14th century and silver annular brooch.
That's gorgeous. Absolutely stunning.
Dave, should we sign off so I don't just suddenly disappear because I've got 2%?
Thanks, Steve. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved talking to you. You've got obviously so much more we can discuss in the future. So, we'll give you a shout and sort something else out in the future. In the meantime, hope everything's going dandy for you, getting out, metal detecting, finding loads of things. And obviously, I can't thank you enough. So if you depart now,
okay,
so
mate.
you don't disappear, and I'll obviously give a bit of a last bit for the people who are listening and watching. So
thanks a lot, Dave. I'll catch up with the show again tomorrow or something.
Fantastic.
Cheers.
So much for coming
everyone.
on. Good night, Steve. Take care.
Good night, guys. Love you all. Bye.
So that was Steve Gray of Anglo Saxon Metal Detecting. I'm just trying to put the phone down to him on Skype, but sorry, that's me. Anglo Celtic Metal Detecting YouTube channel and obviously Facebook group, etc., etc. So please give it a look because it is really, really worthwhile going through there. He's very, as you've heard, he's very, very eloquent in his chat. He knows what he's on about, and that is exactly the same on the on his YouTube channel. To finish off tonight, we'll give a shout out to the people that we normally give a shout out to. People who are listening for the first time tonight. I obviously can't see who's click over. Runestone 54 Metal Detecting. Good evening to you, Matt. All Detect B. I'm just going through the people that I've not actually spoke to or mentioned before. I Detect South Wales. Pom Z or Pom Z. Vince 1648. Let's fix it. Thank you all for popping along tonight. Again, people who do want to listen to any of the shows and the past shows, if you pop onto the big podcast, big Metal Detecting Podcast Facebook group, you'll be able to find the link directly to the Spreaker or you will be able to find it directly the Spreaker account where all the backlog of the shows are. So you'll be able to catch up with everything from about last October that we've recorded. As I said, we do get better, I hope, over time. Better than we were originally when I forgot to turn the microphone on, obviously. There. I also, as I said earlier, myself and Luke, we edit the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine. This is a free website where we put articles written for readers' finds or articles by ourselves, links to reviews, links to media, and quite a big area of research material as well. But we also have the Archaeology and Metal Detecting page. We bring all the news, all the data as it comes out. For instance, if XP release some new settings, we'll get that straight on there so people know automatically. I know you're all in. If you're not in a Facebook group, we do put all sorts on there. And the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine group is more of a it's a people orientated where it's not directly things that you're seeing posted by ourselves. So please come along and visit. You'd be more than welcome. And a shout out to the Treasure Hunting magazine, obviously, Leisure Promotions and Regdons, North of Tyne Metal Detecting Club on Facebook, who will have Scotty B on the 13th of February to discuss DetectorCon, tell us all about his event that's being organised for this July. South Coast Detecting YouTube, Metal Detecting Media Facebook, Southeast Metal Detecting Rallies, Steve Pettican. I always forget what his YouTube things, and I need to print a new sheet out with all this. Scott and Kimmy DeBay, and I'm have to go on to what Dirt Diggers UK. See, remembered Scott. Find a Field. Now, our good friend and confidant, Mr. Lee Hull, will actually be going out with Find a Field this weekend. So good luck on that, Dig Lee. Where am I? To Tony Kaywood, obviously. Gary Cook, all other people who were involved in this show who I forgot to Mr. Lindsay, who does so much work that he forgets to tell me sometimes what he's done. And we catch up about 3 weeks later. Oh, I didn't tell you, but honestly, the magazine wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for Luke and everybody else's input. And what you're watching tonight, again, would be exactly the same. If it weren't for Luke, it looks. So thank you all. Hope to have you on as listeners again in the future. If you have any other people that you would like to request we contact or communicate with to actually be a guest on the show, and for participating tonight. It's been a pleasure to speak to him. I'm Dave Sadler. This is the Big Metal Detecting Radio Show. Good night, everybody.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. That's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. That's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. That's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long.